So I think we just watched somebody's supervillain origin story.
Maybe.
It would be mine if it was on the same position.
Potentially. Um, it's interesting because when I read the synopsis of this movie, it says like, there's an ultimatum that's delivered and he doesn't understand it. And then he finds out the reason for it and it sets off a series of events. I thought it would be longer until we found out the reason. I really
Yeah.
did. Early on in the movie, it's very quickly like you know, so this guy is living on this like lonely little island off the coast of Ireland, and it's just a small island. There's not a lot going on. People just go down to the pub and talk about stuff.
Yep.
Uh, and he's been friends with this other dude for like 20 years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something like
Padraig
that.
and Colm. So you got Patrick and Colm, and Colm tells Patrick like, I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yep.
We're not friends anymore. And Patrick's like, what? Why? Like, what the hell? What did I do? We were friends yesterday. Like, what the fuck? And he keeps on bugging him about it. And Colm, at one point, finally is like, look, I just don't like you anymore. And it's the fucking crestfallen look on Patrick's face is very relatable because you're like, oh, well, that sucks. Like,
Colin Farrell is giving his best puppy dog eyes
yeah,
uh
he's
through this
such a
entire
fucking
movie.
he's such a naive little fucking like sweetheart in this movie. It's really it goes against what we generally know about him. And first, is it just me or are his eyebrows like way bolder in this movie than most movies he's in?
I think it's kind of the same kind of wavelength as like in Bruges. It kind of which is fitting.
Yeah,
Uh
same director.
yeah. Or at least maybe just because its expressions remind me a lot of his character named Bruges. So it could be just be that connection because it feels like kind of similar in a way because he also had like a lot of puppy dog energy in Bruges as well.
Yeah, that was also an
Except
interesting movie.
he's much more naive in this movie and much more just like innocent kind of child at heart. Just again, all he wants to do is just have a beer with his friend,
Yeah.
and like Colm will just not let him do it, and it goes through like such absurd lengths towards the minute. You're just like, Jesus Christ!
Yeah, when it first crosses a certain line, you're like, what?
Like,
And
why would you do that?
it escalates. And it's so fascinating because this movie, on a certain level, is profoundly sad. It's an
Oh, it's a straight up
extremely,
bummer. Yeah.
yeah, it's like it's extremely just depressing in a lot of ways. And at the same time, it's really funny.
It is, yeah, it strikes a weird balance. Well, because like it uses the humor, especially in the first half, to really kind of elevate how weirdly Shakespeareanly tragic it gets in
Yeah.
the second half of the film. And it gets dark
Yeah.
and dour and
By the
just again
very
just
end. Ugh.
fucking depressing as you just watch a man's hope die
Mhm.
over the course of the 2 hour film. And towards the end, when you actually see where it goes, you're just like there's this profound feeling of like it didn't need to be this way,
Yeah.
which
It's
honestly kind of plays into it.
yeah.
And my first thought was like, man, if restraining orders were a thing, like in 1930s Ireland, would have saved us a lot of trouble. Uh,
Yeah. It's such a bizarre ride of a movie. And I think the humor in it is so good at because the best humor is just absurdism.
yep.
That's the funniest stuff when it just doesn't make sense and you're like, wait, what? That's weird. Why? And this movie just nails that throughout the
Yep.
whole movie. And it does it in like little small bits of casual dialogue that really do seem like the normal responses these people would give. They're not making jokes.
Yep.
They're just acting like themselves. And where that goes throughout the movie is really fucking funny
Yeah,
sometimes.
like there's one in particular where I like just lost my shit in the theater, and I don't. It's goes slightly into spoilers, so I don't want to get into it now.
Yeah.
But I just, like again, you're right. Just conversation have, especially the beginning when uh, Colin Farrell's character, what's his name again? Patrice,
Patrick.
Patrick, goes in there and is like, what's his problem? It's like, are you guys rowing? I don't think we're rowing. Just kind of goes
No,
this
we're
thing.
not rowing. I don't think we're rowing.
Yeah, exactly.
And
And Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson have such great chemistry together.
oh yeah,
That
veterans of the
anytime they're on
screen.
screen, they're like anytime they're talking, it's always just so much fun to watch and bounce off each other
Yeah.
because it's
I,
always fun to just like watch again. Colin Farrell's puppy dog energy matched with like Brendan Gleeson's just sour, cynical, done with this bullshit kind
yeah.
of tone.
And I do appreciate I do appreciate this is basically like a reunion of this director and the two main characters from In Bruges, you
Pretty
know? Like
much. Yep.
I love that they did that. Um but this movie has beyond the basic elements and just the beautiful cinematography
Oh
sometimes.
yeah, gorgeous.
Gorgeous shots of Ireland. Um this movie is about some really profound life stuff
Yeah.
underneath the surface. And as you get deeper into the themes as the movie goes on, you start to realize why things are happening the way they are. And it's almost to the point where this comes down to a base difference in philosophy
Yep.
between the characters and in
Absolutely.
terms of life in general. And it's surprising how it creeps up on you with this deeper level of stuff.
Yeah. And just on top of all that, there's also just this notion of just ego and pride and just stubbornness. On granted, one definitely takes to more extreme than the other. But from both of them, in a lot of ways, of neither one just willing to concede, and just leave the other fucker alone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel so bad for Patrick.
I
Like
do too.
I
I do
do. I'm
too.
just
But it's
like, oh,
definitely one of
he's
those
just a
cases like,
sweet mean. Like, just why you gotta do him like that? Like, come
now,
on,
I
you
mean,
can
like for the
balance
most
your
part, it's like I was
time.
on Patrick's side, but at the same time, I was like, yeah, but like when the first consequence happens, that's a kind of a sign that it's not going to
Well,
get better.
it's the consequence, but also I think that, when you listen to Colm's reasoning for why he's doing this, you kind of understand.
Yeah,
It's I would say he could have gone about it a little better, but
yeah,
like
that's fair.
just the way that this moves forward is such an interesting, like outside of the whole conflict between the friends, just the idea of who's right. You kind of are on both of their sides in a way as far as the overall idea about life. Like you can understand why both of them are feeling the way they are.
hmm And although it seems like the only one with their head on their shoulders in the right way is Patrick's sister,
Oh yeah,
uh,
Siobhan.
who is
Siobhan's
like the
amazing.
only
I love
one
her
who
so
just
much.
has no time for anyone's bullshit for most of
Mhm.
this movie because most of the people on this island are just kind of fucking morons.
Yeah.
Um, so in the weird way, she kind of plays the straight woman. And I think there's one part in particular is like, again, this isn't really going to spoiler territory where Colm just like, why don't you want to talk to my brother? Well, he's dull. It's like, you're all fucking dull on this
Yeah, I
fucking
fucking
island.
love her. She's oh shit. Siobhan was the voice of Friday in
Oh shit.
Avengers.
Well, how about that? That's an easy paycheck.
That's crazy. Uh, I'm just looking up some stuff. But yeah, definitely good shit. Good shit.
As you go into like this very tightly knit community of just people who all know each other and all kind of despise each other in a weird way. Um, Particularly like with the cop and the priest.
Yeah, there's some interesting dynamics going on there. I also like the small town personalities. Like it
Yeah,
really does it does invest in just having these characters that some of them only appear a couple of times for a couple of minutes, but
like the general store owner comes to mind.
yeah, but they feel like very real characters where they have
Yep,
their place. And when characters they talk to each other, you can feel the weight of their established relationships.
yep,
And I
absolutely.
really enjoy that. Like it's just a great movie.
Yeah. And like this is when I've had a longer to digest in on this one that I have Decision to Leave. So it's one that I think is more stronger in my memory for that reason.
Yeah.
But like yeah, this one like as profoundly sad and kind of upsetting that it is, like I have found it has a lot of staying power.
Yep.
In no small part because of that. Because I think it is interesting to see again, just like this, again, just the poor moral beat down that these characters take over the course of the
Yeah.
film, and seeing where it ultimately ends up, um, does feel like there is just a weight of like unnecessary tragedy.
There's just one review I popped up here. It just says a brief history of the world. Damn, dude. That's one way to look at it.
Wow.
But yeah, that's the thing. Like in terms of telescoping this out to human nature in general, like yeah.
Um, that's all I can think of really say without going to spoilers. Is there anything else
Yeah.
you might have?
I mean, I think we've said our piece. This is a 9 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I
I
agree with
think
that.
it's a very, very good movie, but at the same time, it made me very sad.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely not a comedy you'll walk away from feeling hopeful about life.
Yeah, yeah. It's in terms of preferences, I like movies that make me feel sad sometimes in certain ways. This is not the way I like to feel sad. So,
I definitely understand that, and I agree to a certain extent. Although I probably would watch this again. Um,
I gotta bunk this 1 point for that. But
that's fair.
otherwise,
Totally
excellent,
fair.
worth your time if you have the tolerance for that kind of thing. Like definitely, I would say definitely one of the must sees of the year. Like
Yeah,
it's such an interesting movie.
absolutely. So again, a spoiler because there's like at least
Spoilers.
one joke in
Spoilers.
particular where I lost my shit because I thought
Yeah.
of like that is such a good fucking joke.
Go for it.
Was the part where Colin Farrell is trying to basically get revenge on Colm for ignoring him, and he gives a ride to his violin buddies. He's- he's- he starts trying to convince him that he needs to go back home because his dad got hit by a bread truck, like a bread cart or something like that. He goes like, a bread cart? You say? Like, yeah, it happens. It's totally weird, like totally weird way. It's like, that's how my mom died. As he just
And
runs
then,
off crying.
and then when he hops off the cart all upset, he's like, if it's the same bread truck driver, I'll fucking kill him. Like, it's
Such a
it's
good
a
joke.
really good joke. Yeah.
Like, oh, that was brilliant.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
Um,
let's talk about Colin Farrell's just descent and just
oh God, man.
super
Oh
villainy.
God.
Like this poor man just like has his life torn, like everything he cares about is completely taken from like slowly but surely over the course of 2 hours. And by the end of the day, when he finally just gives in to just this anger and this contempt,
Hmm.
and this rage, and just tries to burn down Colm with him still inside, but insists keeping the dog alive, which I respect.
Yeah, absolutely.
uh so, man,
That's the
I
thing.
just,
He still has a heart.
yeah, like it's not because he wants to be cruel at this point. He just has nothing left to live for.
I mean, and also on the other side, like when Colm finds out that he accidentally killed the donkey, like you can tell he feels genuinely bad about that.
Yeah, like he does feel genuine guilt, but again, that goes to what I was talking about earlier with the pride and the ego. I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, like I still like you, I still care about you. Clearly, I do, but I said I was gonna do this, so I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, that's one of the things. And one review I read about it, they were like, one thing is for sure, these are both men of their word.
Yeah,
And that's another thing. Like there's no compromise. Like even after that one night where, little dipshit fucking tells him,
oh god,
um, oh, he said that's the most he's ever liked you. And he's like, oh, well, shit, maybe I'll try again. And he goes and he has like a genuinely nice conversation with him for 2 minutes. And he's like, oh, that was great. And then the fucking, oh,
throws the
God, the
fingers. Yeah,
consequence of that, like, fuck me. That was so fucked up. Like,
yeah.
that was so fucked up.
And that's what I'm talking about, like the unnecessary tragedy, because like you can tell the friendship is still there, and there's still like ways to talk to each other where they both still get something out of it. But at the end of the day, like going to that level of extreme just because he said it on a whim just feels like this feels so unnecessarily cruel, not just to him but to yourself.
Yeah, I
And like for what? For pride? For ego? Or just
yeah.
because you said you were gonna do it? Like
Well, but
to
that's the
what
thing.
end?
That's the idea. Like it's when it gets to the point, and the first finger he cuts off is his fucking thumb.
Yeah, right.
Oh no, it
As
wasn't
I've
his thumb.
learned,
No, no,
thumbs
no.
are
I was
important.
wrong. I was wrong. No, I think it's
Uh,
actually his. He does go for his pinky at first, but to go for all four other fingers, like if he's talking about writing music for, like that's what he wants to do with the rest of his life.
and he's
The fact
deliberately
that he's
sabotaging himself. Yeah.
yeah, the fact that he's willing to do that just to make a point and sabotage what he said was the whole reason he wanted to do the rest of this. I think that speaks more deeply to, I think Patrick was right where he's like, I think he's depressed. And this is
Hmm.
a guy getting old, living on this island with nothing happening, nothing to leave as his legacy, no children, like literally he's just going to die and nobody's going to remember him. And
Yeah,
that's fucking eating away at him as he's in the twilight of his life. And I think that's a pretty universal theme that people can relate to
for sure.
as they get older. Like that's a real thing.
Yeah, and for sure, and even on Colin Farrell's side of things too, or Podrick's side of things too. It's again kind of funny just coming the past few weeks that I've had when I first saw the movie. Oh, it's kind of like that's so sad. Like I can't imagine living that experience. And a couple weeks later, I'm like, no, I kind of get it.
No, it really is this thing where both sides of it are valid. And I think that, Patrick's perspective does come from the fact that he is so much younger and he
Yeah, he's
doesn't
so much
understand
younger,
that kind of feeling.
but he also lost like every anchorage of like hope and happiness that he had left.
Well, I mean, initially,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
like initially, he just doesn't get why Colm would feel this way and why
Because
Colm would
for
commit
like
himself so fully to his art. As someone who makes music, um, there have definitely been points where I've thought, what if I just ignore everything else and just shut down everything and just focus on making art? Like, I really wish I could make more art and I
yeah,
wish I could produce more music. And the fact is, I'm not willing to give up the parts of my life that make it more enjoyable for me to interact with other people and everything, to commit that fully to my music.
which is like
But
the
at the same
part.
time, I
Oh yeah.
feel that pull.
Hmm.
So I understand both of them when it
Yeah,
comes down to that.
but the extremes they go to.
Yeah, I would not mutilate myself on that level.
I certainly hope not. If you ever pull that shit on me, I'm calling the police.
I mean, I just get a restraining order.
That does seem like the easier solution.
I would just pull together a greatest hits compilation. I would watch through all of our videos and I would find every point where you've been racist. And I would just make a compilation and I would be sure to edit them as out of context as possible, just to make sure to maximize the impact and just skew all of your words in the worst way possible. And I would show it to them and they would be like, this is highly edited. Go home.
That's
I
okay because then I
spent
can make a living.
200 hours on this.
That's okay because then I can go on Netflix and SNL and go, I'm being canceled.
Right. No, it's what was it? No, we've done like over 100 reviews together easily. Like
Have
we've
we?
done like
Yeah.
120, 130 reviews or something.
Have you counted?
No, I have a playlist.
Oh, okay.
'Cause if I want to dig through your reviews to find ones that we've done, I don't want to go through like everything. So,
Fair. All right.
also going to the different seasons of playlists. It's a lot harder on a phone too. You know how
That's
hard it
fair.
is to scroll down and then you accidentally click out of it and you have to scroll all the way down again as it loads. Like, yeah, just having a set playlist is easier.
That makes a lot of sense.
I haven't updated it
But
in like
also
a
good to
year or
know what
so.
your revenge plan would be.
Huh?
I don't know. I feel like I would definitely be the Podrick in that situation of just like, what the fuck did I do?
No, it would be like I would be I'd be pulling a tar on you. I would just be like heavily edited, take all your fucking stuff out of context, post it to Twitter.
Well, yeah, you got maybe like 2 weeks to do that. Uh,
We'll see what happens. That's its own fucking tangent. Like,
it
oh my
is,
God.
yeah, but still, it's.
I do appreciate that we get to see how much of an idiot Elon Musk is at business in real time.
Oh yeah, no, it's been
Like
it's been a journey.
the
Uh,
absolute lack of knowledge or care about the law. And I really appreciate that his lawyer was like, we don't care. Like, Elon puts rockets in space. He's not afraid of the FTC. And I'm like, are you a legal professional saying that Elon is above the law as his lawyer? Is that your official stance, buddy? Oh boy.
I don't know. Elon seems like the kind of guy who watches Jack Nicholson and A Few Good Men and think he has some points.
Yeah, Elon's definitely a guy who watches Wolf of Wall Street and thinks like, this is a protagonist. No, not a protagonist. He is the protagonist, but he watches it and he's like, I want to be like this guy.
Yeah,
This
like
is a good role model.
this kind of guy who reads Watchmen and think Rorschach is the good guy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
He's a fan of Todd Phillips' Joker for the wrong reasons.
oh damn it, that was the other opener I had for this movie. It's like this is a better Joker movie than Joker.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, I guess it would be the Penguin origin story though, considering.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. But it works better
but
as a Joker story though, if we're being honest.
no, it does, but
Like
it's funny.
honestly, if the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie went more in this direction, I would have liked it a lot more. Uh,
Oh, absolutely. It would have made more sense too.
yeah, instead of
I mean,
society.
as far as this descent into madness, it makes more sense for this to be the thing
Yep.
rather than, literally everybody in the world just picks on this guy because he's pathetic. Like that's
But in this
he just gets
again, just
bullied into murder.
but like, I mean, he still gets bullied into murder here. But like in this case, like it feels personal.
I
It
mean, he
feels
doesn't actually
devastating.
I mean, he tries to murder, but he doesn't actually murder.
No, but he also like makes a vow from that point on, like from this day
Oh yeah.
on, I am gonna try to kill you.
Yeah.
Uh,
This is like one of us is this is going to be to the grave.
yep.
And
That kind of goes
considering how far they've committed up to that point, like he's not lying.
because at this
Um,
point, like, what else does he have?
yeah.
Uh,
Question.
yes.
Do you think Barry Cogan killed himself?
Oh, you mean I always think that
Stupid
guy,
little weird guy.
like the guy from Eternals. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Turner's
wondered
the
about
only
that.
place I haven't hated him. Like he's in every movie he's in, he always plays this weird twitchy guy, and I fucking hate it because he's never playing a new character. Even his take on the Joker is just
I
him being the same fucking asshole, and I really don't want to see that. But he has this massive fan legion who's like, "Oh, he's so good at this." No, he's not. He's not. Give him good characters. Eternals was him acting, and he did
Yep,
it well. And
he
I want
did.
more of that, not just him being like, what are you going to do with that stick? Like, he did the
Yeah.
same shit in The Green Knight. He did the
Was in the
same
Green Knight,
shit
wasn't
in fucking Killing of a Sacred Deer. Like, it's just his typecasting now. And here it actually felt more in place rather than just a weird character they added because they
he?
gave him more to work with than just be weird. Like,
Yeah.
something's neurodivergent about that kid. And I think that if he had a better environment and better support system and, a desire to actually change a little bit and
Mm.
understand how to not be such a fucking weirdo, um, or at least not be so fucking awkward around people,
Mm.
then it would be better. Dude, that dinner scene was so fucking
Oh
awkward.
man.
I love how Siobhan was just like, I'll fucking kick your ass out to the street. Shut the fuck up. Like, just, no, I love her so much. She was so
Oh, she
good.
was great.
But yeah,
But it,
do you think he killed himself?
see,
Because
I've
they
been kind of
fish
going
him
back.
out of the lake. The same lake where he says, like, I think him asking Chauvin was his kind of last shot at trying to do something that, like, get something out of his future that he'd enjoy.
Like
And
I've been kind of going back and
especially,
forth on that too because it's also like implied that there is an actual banshee and it's that old creepy woman. Uh, and at the same time also
kind of,
because like well that's the implication again. So like
sure, she
uh
is the bog witch of Inisherin, sure. But I think the other interesting thing about that is that comes after um Patrick tells him about what he told the violin guy.
yeah,
And that kind of destroys his last bit of hope because
that's a good
that
point too.
character, God,
Yeah,
what's his name? Let me fucking look him up. Barry Cogan, where are you, little shit?
Dominic.
Dominic, right.
What?
um the last conversation he has with Patrick is the one where he tells him what he did. And he says, "That's the fucking meanest thing I've ever heard. I used to think you weren't like the rest. I used to think you were the best of them. But now I see like you're just as bad." And that fuck like it fucks him up. You can see it really upsets him.
Yeah,
Patrick is not the good person he thought he was, that he got pushed to this limit and he did this really cruel thing. And in his mind, Patrick is the only friend that he can rely on. Throughout the movie, he's constantly hounding Patrick because he doesn't have anybody else. And he thinks everyone else is kind of mean or shitty because he's the weird guy and awkward guy. And Patrick is the only guy who tolerates him and is nice to him and tries to like take him in when he's being beaten by his dad. And and when you get to the point where when you get to the point where that thing is betrayed, And then he has that one last like, hey, do you think like you would ever think of dating someone like me? And she's like, no, I'm sorry, which, valid.
Yeah,
But at the same time, he kind of slinks off sadly and he's like, I'm just going to go do the thing I was going to do over there. And you kind of think he's just being awkward.
but no, that might have been
But
like it could like I think you can make a very strong argument for it, and I think like I don't think you'd be wrong necessarily in that interpretation.
yeah,
And I think definitely with the series events being played, I feel like that is definitely the implication.
yeah, thematically speaking, it fits in with how fucking depressing this movie gets. Good God, man. It got so sad by the end.
Yep.
And the other thing, like what I found interesting is Siobhan at least took the initiative to leave the island.
Yeah.
And, she tells him there's a world out here. You can build a life out here. But he is so stuck in this.
Yeah.
He can't leave where he's at, even though his donkey's dead. Like his only pet, his only friend, and well, his only pet and his best friend has, made an enemy out of him. And, in a way, this is like just a really brutal breakup movie.
Yeah.
Um,
Like I said, that's why I kind of compare it to like a Shakespearean tragedy in a way, because it does
yeah,
feel like a
very
kind of
much.
ironic ending, whereas like he has the option to leave, but he chooses not to leave, instead choosing to dwell in this sorrow and this anger that
Well,
is gonna kill them, but kill one or both of them.
but I think part of it is the fact that at that point it's crossed a threshold where he can't let it go.
Yeah.
If
No,
he had
exactly.
done
Yeah, you're
that
right.
before it got to the point where it killed his donkey, I think he might have been able to sadly leave the island.
But
But
once he
at
makes
that
that
point,
vow, that promise
yeah,
that says like, as long as you're still here, I'm gonna basically want your death.
yeah,
So
I'm
very much
committing
the
the
same
rest
way
of my
that
life.
Colm makes his own commitment of like, if you keep bothering me, I'm gonna keep mutilating myself.
Yeah.
And it's kind of an inverse too. It's like I'm gonna keep torturing myself in spite of you.
Well, it's this thing where it's also just this betrayal. It's this pain. It's this like, because I know what it's like to have friends do that.
Yeah.
I've had multiple friends, honestly, do something similar to this, and a big one was around the 2016 election,
Mm,
uh, which later I found out he became a hardcore fucking Trump supporter, so that was
yeah.
doomed anyways. But at the time, I was just so confused as to why, and like we'd been best friends since high school. It was like 15 years of friendship, like brotherhood, and it tore me apart, and I kept on messaging him and he kept on escalating to the point where he fucking did something honestly really unforgivable,
Mm,
with a mutual friend and turned them against me as well, by misframing something without context, something that he knew the intimate details of and should have known better. But it's like, uh he escalated it to that point and then got it to the point where it just like I've been in a weirdly similar situation, I guess,
yeah.
except his reason for doing it wasn't nearly as good. And I've had people who are temperamental, and the people who kind of just drop off the face of the earth for like half a year
Yeah.
and then come back, and then they don't tell you why, they don't answer your texts or anything. And that's always painful to me because, if you need some time to yourself, just say so. But to end a friendship that you've had for 15, 20 years and just not want to engage with the person about why. And at least this guy has the decency to tell him why. It's a fucked up shitty reason, but at least it's a reason.
Yeah.
I can completely understand Patrick's pain, his desire to reconcile, how much he loves Colm. And on the other end of it, how with the way the situation escalates, the depth of that pain, and how
Yeah.
if you have nothing else to live for, you will give in to that villainy and fucking just commit to like, okay, if this is what you want to make it, fine. It could have been different. It didn't have to be like this. I loved you. And partially on a certain part, I still do. And that's why this hurts so much. And that's why I have nothing else to do but to pursue this to the death.
Yeah.
And it really is, like you were saying, that Shakespearean escalation of that pain. And there's something really beautiful and tragic and sad
Yeah.
this movie's so sad. Like the ending left, like I walked out of that theater like, oh God,
No, I like there
really
is a
sad now.
unique aura of despair that follows you
Yeah,
from which is honestly like yeah, it's heavy to sit with, but I also can't think of many films that create that same kind of feeling.
yeah. I mean, this movie is about very deep loneliness and hopelessness about the
Absolutely.
future.
And isolation.
Yeah,
Um
yeah. It's, I mean, which resonates with me right now, especially like after all the pandemic stuff. But yeah, this movie resonated with me on an uncomfortable level in a lot of ways. But at the same time, the problem I have with it that is that there is no resolution to it. And I
no.
understand that there isn't necessarily a resolution to these kinds of things. Sometimes it just is what it is. But the note that it ends on is so bleak.
Just this notion that this is destined to go on until one or both of them are dead.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there is no coming back from this now.
Yeah.
They have both gotten to the point where there's no way. And yeah, it's just God, it's so fucking depressing.
Yeah.
And I really wish that there was some note to the movie which made it feel like some kind of redemptive quality. Like if one of the fucking side characters, aside from Shoban, like she kind of just disappears and you hear that she's doing okay. But I would have liked like maybe a little epilogue scene where you get to see her enjoying her life. Like
Yeah, I can
maybe
see
like,
that.
hey, this is what happens when you fucking get away from all this toxicity and all the things that are making you unhappy in your life. If you are miserable, fucking go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And if we just got that as like a little add-on lesson at the end, instead of her just being like, well, she's out of the picture now, nothing left but sadness, alone forever, never to be happy again. Like,
Yeah, it is
Jesus Christ, man.
it is an extremely bleak fucking ending.
Yeah.
Um and it's like that definitely for me goes in category of yeah, don't go into this movie expecting to feel good after it, but
Yeah. You're gonna have a good time for some of it, but ultimately you're gonna have a pretty bad time. Like it's
but
really funny, but in the end, you're gonna be real sad.
that being said, the
So,
more I've thought about it, the more fascinated I've become with the journey of it and the
yeah,
construction of it.
yeah,
Like as bleak as it ends, it is a fascinating journey.
yeah.
And I have a
Just a
lot of respect
fucking
for that.
doomed descent into fucking madness. Like,
Yeah.
oh
And
man.
still make me fucking laugh. Uh
Oh yeah, no, I was laughing a lot. Like there's so much in this movie that's so funny.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Got anything else?
I think it's all I really got for it. So
All right,
we still gotta
cool.
watch I've seen Wakanda Forever now. I just gotta find someone to talk about it with.
I guess I still got to watch it.
And I
I want to
still
watch it in theaters.
and I do want to review Weird because I did see that. I did watch
Weird.
it. The Weird Al movie.
Oh, right. I gotta watch that too.
Yep.
Um, yeah,
Um
I do want to. I do recommend. I just want to give a shout out. JD Signifier made an amazing movie about the first Black Panther, um, which really digs into the deeper subtext of the movie as related to the metaphors and themes that it has that are directly related to Black culture and different elements of Black culture that are at war with each other and the different perspectives and the feelings of being Black while watching that movie. Um, there are a lot of really deep themes to that anyone who's not Black, there's no way that they can understand it because it's just inherent to Black existence. And watching his video on it, it's an hour and a half long, but it flew by for me because it was just so well constructed. And it was so interesting to learn all these new things. I really recommend checking that out. And I really hope he does a follow-up video on Wakanda Forever.
okay. I think that's a good note to end it on. So thank you all for watching. See you later.
Well, we still need
Oh,
to talk about Human Centipede. You have to watch
yeah,
it.
let's get right on.